Good morning. We would like to thank all the participants that are joining this session that will continue the discussion about the solution as part of the Tech Symposium. We will have 5 speakers to share the experience and innovation that they have been learning from the implementation of the technological solutions. Each will have 15 minutes, followed by 5 minutes of question and answer. To gain time, we will start our session, and I would like to invite Xavier, PROST, from the Global Vice President of Veridos, to share the tech solution implemented in our continent as part of the ID development system. 15 minutes to share the tech solutions and the lesson learned on implementing surgeon. Please.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. Bonjour à tous. As a younger man, I could have never comprehended a world where my payment cards, concert tickets, and boarding passes would reside in a single digital wallet and an handheld device. Yet here we are, and pushing boundaries further, integrating identity documents and travel credentials into a borderless digital wallet. I'm happy to be part of your journey towards standardized mobile identity. Over the next 15 minutes, I'll share 3 core principles that demand the attention of decision makers and visionaries as we dive into mobile identity platform. Here, an overview of 3 core principles: wants, needs, and partnership. Firstly, let's dive into the wants. What do we aim to achieve with our standardized mobile identity program? It's crucial to define clear goals and success factors. Whether it's enhancing citizen convenience, improving service delivery, or boosting security, our goals define our success. Next, we explore the needs. How can we tailor our program to suit the unique requirements of each country? It's essential to acknowledge local needs and navigate national regulations. By understanding the needs of each region, we can ensure seamless integration and widespread adoption of our mobile identity solution. Lastly, let's discuss partnership. Who do you want on your side on this journey? Building long-term relationship is key to the success of your program. Whether it's collaborating with government agencies, technology providers, or industry stakeholders. This alliance fosters innovation and paves the way for impactful headlines. In summary, by focusing on wants, needs, and partnership, we lay a solid foundation for the widespread adoption and local empowerment via our standardized mobile entity program. Let's explore each principle in more details as we progress through our presentation. First, let's define what is a successful MID program in one sentence. A successful program is one that people use. What does it mean? Implementing a project does not mean the work is done. It comes down to adoption by citizens, verifiers, and authorities. None of the actors can do it alone. Through the engagement of these 3 parties, we can build an ecosystem of multi-layered use cases across the public and the private sectors. Let's start with the authorities. Government can increase access to services with automation. These services are no longer only connected to a physical office. For example, a person wants to apply for a new driver license, but they live in a small country very far away from their nearest transportation authority. Now the citizen can apply for a new driver license, directly from the app. For verifiers in the public or the private sectors, they can trust the authenticity of the mobile credential in front of them. Since 2018, when Veridos implemented the first countrywide mobile driving license program in the world, our conformance solutions have been expanded as needs of our technology and customers. Our industry-compliant mobile ID takes 3 seconds only to be checked electronically. Compare that to checking a physical card. As the primary users, citizens benefit from increased access and can use their mobile credentials to prove their identity in person and online. At the heart of our mobile ID program lies a fundamental principle: user centricity. Our platform, Verigo Mobile ID, is not just technology. It is a driver for inclusion and empowerment across the region. We understand that the success of any mobile ID initiative hinges on user adoption and engagement. That's why we have designed the mobile ID to be as attractive and intuitive as possible, seamlessly transitioning users from only being holders to active participants in the digital ecosystem. While complying to the standards from bodies like ISO, we have also prioritized functionalities that directly impact citizen life and enhance service delivery. From facilitating multi-document verification to ensuring privacy and data minimization, Verigo Mobile ID is built to simplify everyday interaction while upholding the highest standards of security and trust. Our flexible user interface can also be customized to foster a sense of familiarity among its users. Now, let's dive into the digital verification process of a mobile ID solution. We enable a range of pre-configured use cases, from facilitating smooth traffic stops to seamless edge verification. The flexibility ensures that our platform can adapt to various scenarios. We prioritize your data privacy. This means that only personal information relevant to the transaction is shared, protecting the user privacy while at the same time ensuring security. Our platform is designed to verify any standards conforming mobile ID, regardless of the issuing authority or the technology used. This interoperability is very important because it means that your program is vendor neutral. Our digital verification process is built on the principle of flexibility, privacy, and interoperability, ensuring a secure and seamless experience for both users and verifiers. What are the critical needs for your mobile ID solution? Convenience, security, and scalability. Convenience is crucial. If we want to enhance inclusion and adoption, we have to make it as easy as possible for the users. A mobile ID should be really accessible and user-friendly. In other words, it has to be as easy to use as a physical card. Security for us as a security tech champion is a non-negotiable. A platform must have robust security measures, engineering to withstand even the most sophisticated fraud attempts. Users have to trust that their identity is safeguarded at all times. Scalability, last point, means planning for the future. It means growing alongside with you. It means being ready to expand domestically and internationally. Scalability also means supporting vision beyond technological implementation. Mobile ID should be a method to promote inclusion, interoperability, and travel. ISO compliance is not just a checkbox. It's a commitment to a strong foundation for secure information sharing and seamless communication. In the physical world, every passport looks different, and this is really a good thing. But what allows you to travel from South Africa to Uganda to Germany are a set of internationally agreed European standards. Global standards give us the trust in the document. Imagine how wonderful it would be to do that with your own mobile ID. So convenience, security, and scalability must form the foundation of a standardized solution. How does it work? Firstly, it is crucial to highlight that a strong mobile ID solution provides secure and trusted verification in both online and offline environments. Whether it is accessing services online, meaning using the credentials pulled from the backend, or verifying identity offline with the latest version saved on your device. Users can have confidence in the integrity of the process. The only way to authenticate a mobile ID is cryptographically. That begins usually with a secure QR code, establishing a secured communication channel between the devices. Holders can present their credentials for verification either in attended scenario or online for remote access to e-services. This flexibility ensures that mobile ID remains accessible and convenient in different situations. Has anyone in the audience heard about FlashPass? A FlashPass is a concerning trend to both us and industry where attempts are made to mimic features from the physical world on a smartphone. Holograms, security print, forget it. A true mobile ID is always verified electronically. Attempting to mimic physical feature on a handset creates a false sense of security, ultimately eroding trust in the entire mobile ID system. Trust is a paramount. True security lies in adherence to electronic verification standards, ensuring that mobile ID remains a trusted and reliable means of authentication. Let's further explore the importance of trust and security in mobile ID. How do we become an identity hub? That means putting your agency into the center of the digital ID ecosystem. The program is facilitated via the issuing authority, serving as the central body responsible for managing and administering mobile IDs. What do we want there? We want to have a cross-border interoperability, like we have for passport. Being shown here on the left-hand side, where I can travel from a country to country with my mobile ID and trust that it will be accepted. This is an excellent goal. But until the infrastructure is in place to allow this, let's start domestically and leverage all the benefits of mobile ID program at home. Domestic interoperability is essential. A single mobile ID can be used for so much more than governmental services. It can be used at home, at work, at school, and in private. To enable cross-border interoperability, we require a multinational key exchange structure, like a PKD, facilitating seamless identity verification across borders. And this is a nice thing to work towards. That is the vision. Let's shape the future of the digital identity together. In every region, we see a distinct set of challenges. But as usual, challenges also bring opportunities. In the USA, we have seen over $1 billion of investment. Yet this is not resulted in the national strategy for the digital identity. What is missing? We need to address the gaps in the ID landscape and offer our citizens use cases, services, which make their life better. In the EU, we see a multinational initiative to bring mobile IDs into the wallet of every European citizen or resident, providing them with secure and convenient access to the services that they need or want. What do those programs have in common? The needs of the user come first. In Africa, there is already tremendous progress on this front.
Sorry, for another minute to complete.
Yeah. Initiatives such as TTTFP confront a distinct challenge. Facilitating cross-border road transportation and network is no small feat. So why not starting regionally? With standard compliance solution in the TTTFP and gradually expanding from there, there is a chance to offer a strategic approach to leveraging mobile SD's potential, ultimately streamlining process across the entire continent. A key point, I think, let's talk about the challenges we face when using open source software, OSS, in our daily business. The first consideration is security. Governments need to keep their sensitive data very secure. OSS allows everyone to see the code, which is good, but it requires significant adaptation and testing before setting it productive in a secure manner. Another challenge is that OSS may not work well with existing systems when we lack open standard. This means we might need to put in extra effort to make everything compatible during integration. This can make it hard to combine mobile ID with other technology and limit how much we can grow the system. Keeping the system running smoothly is also very important. Government programs need expert staff to provide ongoing support and updates. Looking after an OSS solution that is not standardized can take a lot of time and effort, leaving less resources for other important tasks. In short, while OSS has benefits like transparency and community support, it also has drawbacks like security issues, potential lack of interoperability, and high maintenance needs. Government needs to think carefully about this issue when deciding whether to use OSS for their ID system. Our customer, almost done. Our customers and citizens are at the center of the identity ecosystem. We can easily integrate with an existing system or provide a full identity network, transforming you into the identity hub we talked about before. We provide enrollment and issuance services for government authorities. The secure wallet application for citizens with multiple usage and verification methods to build your e-government journey together. We enable you to consolidate your mobile identities and avoid lock-in of vendors while providing as much or as little of the ecosystem as is required for internal program. Last, and it will be my conclusion, as we wrap up, let's highlight the key elements of your mobile ID program. Number one, inclusion and accessibility. A successful program ensures that everyone can use it, authorities, verifiers, and citizens. We want to meet the needs of all different. Number two, convenience. A mobile ID empowers individuals to access government services and other online resources and engage with the digital world. Number three, security. With strong safety measures in place, citizens can trust their mobile ID solution the same way they trust physical documents. And last, number four, interoperability and scalability. Standardized interface allow you to connect easily with other systems, both in the country and around the world. To sum up, Veridos is a reliable partner to help to guide you through the world of digital identity. Our solution follows standards, can be used in many ways, and let you control your own digital identity journey. Please visit us at our booth, F02, for further discussion about our mobile identity program, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. PROST, for sharing the solution that Veridos has. Thank you for sharing the technological solution that Veridos is presenting to the participants of this forum. As part of this implementation, I was following with attention your presentation. I didn't notice a reference to the legal and regulatory framework that could enable the implementation of the solution of an African-wide mobile ID solution. Did you take that into consideration, the legal and regulatory aspect, taking into account that many governments have different laws on data protection and also on frameworks for interoperability?
For sure, this is a very good question, and this is what I mentioned in the presentation with the needs. So it means that our solution is based on ISO standards, so this is a generic product, but still we have to pay attention to the needs of each region, each country. And for sure, we have to comply with the local regulation. So it means that indeed we have to adapt our product to the regulation in each country.
Thank you. For the benefit of time, I will select some questions from Slido. In fact, there are a number of slides related to interoperability and the standards. The first question is what are the benefits of following ISO standard in the implementation of this solution?
I mean, again, this is the idea that indeed we have to choose a standard. So there's different one, and I would say that this is not the choice of Veridos to follow the ISO standard. This is the choice of the market. And what we are doing is we are listening what the market is requesting, and we can see in a lot of regions in the world that the government, our customer, they want to follow this standard. So in fact, we are following the recommendation of the market and the willingness of our customers. Yeah. And maybe to add one word, I mean, the benefits of using standards, of using open standards. First, this is the interoperability, and I think that the ultimate goal in terms of interoperability, this is not just using your mobile ID in your country, which is already nice, and this is a good start, but also to be sure that in the different regions of the world, you will have some interoperability, and then, for instance, that you can prove your ID, or that you can prove that your mobile driving license is valid in different countries. So this is why this is so important to use these standards and to use open standards. So interoperability, and again, I think a key word which has been expressed several times this morning, this is to avoid any locking for the countries, because only the open standard will allow this interoperability, and the fact that the government will be free to choose any kind of suppliers to provide any component.
One important element of the transborder ID system, and it's part of your solution, is the public key directory. Can you elaborate on your vision or proposal on the governance structure of cross-country or public key directory from the governance point of view?
I think that we don't have to reinvent what is already existing. So there is already a system for PKID, which is managed by ICAO for the physical document, for the passport, and I guess that we should use the same way in ensure interoperability between the different countries.
Question that's from the contribution. In the ID, mobile ID solutions, there's another players that are mobile operators and a media operator. What role are ID solution providers playing to convince social media platform owners to curb negative behavior using mobile identity?
If I understand well the question, this is, I mean, social. I think that if we make the link with social media platform owners to register, I think that one key point, and because we have seen in the past with Facebook that for digital identity, I think that the key point is that this is really the sovereignty of the countries to have to be the owner of the identity. Because if the countries, I mean, if the countries are losing this, they are really losing their sovereignty. So they have to push and to force the social media to use their real digital identity. But maybe this question will give me the opportunity to elaborate also a little bit more about digital identity, because, and I think this is something which has been discussed this morning. The digital identity by itself, the issuing of digital identity will not be enough for the ecosystem. To be sure that this technology will work, we must be sure also that there will be some services associated to the digital identity. Because if you ask the people to load the app, and maybe sometimes to pay for that, if there is no services, then the people will tell you, I have my physical document, that's enough for me. So we must be sure that the complete ecosystem will go into this direction. It means the government who will help to issue the infrastructure, and then the private sector to enable some services which will be the incentive for the citizen to use, because it will facilitate their life.
Thank you very much for the presentation and for this discussion. Due to the time constraint, there are many other questions, very important questions, but we will have to find another place to discuss and continue the debate around this important. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, now. I would like to invite Mr. Mark Sullivan, Director, Digital Services, Canadian Bank Note. Mr. Sullivan, you have 15 minutes. Please, 15 minutes for the presentation, then we'll have 5 minutes for the
Right,
debate.
yeah, don't want to impact lunch, got it. Hello everyone, this is my second time back at the ID for Africa AGM and I'm delighted to be here. You can see we're the Canadian Banknote Company, we're headquartered in Ottawa, Canada. That's a shot of our headquarters there, and I do have to say that given both the warm welcome and the warm weather here, I'm in no hurry to get back. But you know, I do want to say welcome to the ambassadors, to members of parliament, distinguished guests, other government officials, and as well my colleagues and peers. It's an honor to be here presenting for you today. My role at CBN is as the Director of Digital Services, and I kind of wear two hats in that role. The first hat I wear is as our subject matter expert in the area of digital identity, and in that role I participate in the International Standards Organization working group that is developing standards in this space, and in particular the mobile document standard. But I also manage and operate our operations group that is actually building out our solutions. This is a very advantageous position for us because it allows me to be directly involved in the development work, bringing the latest and greatest of the evolution in the digital identity world back into our solution space and making sure that our solutions, you know, as they come out the gate and as they're being designed, that's not where the design stops. I've been in this space for 10 years now, and the one thing I am sure of is that it's going to be constantly changing for a while now. So we do bring those lessons back into the development, keep things moving forward, and that's a bit of the theme of the presentation I want to give today. I won't belabor this point. Why are we here today? In large part, it's to learn from each other's experiences. We're all at different stages in our journey in terms of our understanding of digital ID and perhaps developing programs. So we do want to make sure that we are sharing those lessons collectively. We're not reinventing the wheel, and we can all move forward at, you know, a pace that is acceptable to our stakeholders. Framing this conversation today, I would like to use our latest example is we've developed the mobile identity program for the state of Virginia in the United States. So this is an ISO 1800135 mobile document. You've heard that phrase a lot, but it's an international standards compliance solution that we'll be talking about in the context of today's discussion. And then I'm hoping that you'll also be able to walk away from my presentation with at least some ideas or a little bit of advice if you are embarking on a program on how you can move and take the next steps forward. As a little bit of a level set here, we might have seen this model on the left-hand side a whole bunch, right? These are some of the roles in a mobile identity ecosystem. I do want to take a moment and draw a little bit of a differentiation between what might be thought of as a federated mobile identity system, you know, somewhere where I log in with an app, I engage with a verifier, and they go back to the back end to pull my mobile data. What our solutions are really focused on is the concept of mobile credentialing, and this is truly providing that digital identity into a digital wallet that is being held by the users so that they can present it directly to a verifier the same way I would share an ID card today. Usually when you share an ID card or a passport, no one's getting on the phone to call back to the issuing authority and make sure that's a genuine document. The security is inherent in the process there. That's why the term holder instead of user is pretty important, right? You are the one that is holding that data. I do also want to try to address maybe some of the questions and themes that I've seen coming out in the last presentation. I believe one of the questions was, you know, why pick the ISO standard? And I can shed a little bit of light on why we went that route. It's an emerging standard in the United States, and we'll get to, you know, what adoption there is looking like. But critically, that bottom arrow there, that communication between holders and relying parties, is something that gets glossed over a lot when we talk about standards in the mobile identity space. So you know you have the ISO mobile document standard. You also have standards such as the W3C verifiable credential, digital travel credential. There's a number of them. The ISO standard is actually the only one that really formalizes the presentation and exchange model and how that transfer works. So by beginning with a basis of our mobile document standard in our solution, we stay standards compliant right across that line with holders and relying parties. Where if you went with a verifiable credential solution, there are different models you can follow, but you're putting yourself in a bit of a Wild West space where you're not sure the next solution comes along. Are you going to have to make adjustments there? The final thing I want to call out is that arrow between the relying parties and the issuers. Again, I talked about the federated model being a bit different. Oftentimes in a federated model, that arrow will actually be a hard technical connection. That's an integration project, that's software and APIs that need to be maintained. And by taking this step back and doing everything as a mobile credential where the user holds that data, interacting directly with the verifier, and the verifier has everything they need to verify it, you know, your role as an issuing authority becomes way simpler. You no longer have to stand up and maintain a verification infrastructure. And to a lot of our customers that are traditionally issuing, you know, national IDs or driving license documents or anything like that, they're not normally involved in verification process, right? So by sticking to this model, it stays a lot truer to, you know, their current business processes, and in the long term, they find a lot of financial savings there because there's less infrastructure to maintain. Finally, I've added this box here on the right-hand side because I think many of you in this room might fall into that category today, and that's the role of governors. There's going to be a great session on this tomorrow morning that I encourage you to join, the role of governance and how you go about establishing governments for an ecosystem. But I want to make sure that, you know, you're not forgotten there, because to me that's the hardest one, right? That's the daunting challenge. How do you actually stand up, establish the rules in the ecosystem, and make sure that all these participants have those security, privacy assurances, and can ultimately interoperate? So talking about digital identity ecosystems, you know, the e-passport ecosystem was brought up, and that's a prime example we're all familiar with. And you can think back to this concept of mobile credentials and having it in my pocket and not having to call home, and that's how the e-passport system works. Very intelligently, the folks at the administrators of the Motor Vehicles Association of America have actually gone ahead and produced a very similar model for mobile documents within the United States. You can see on the bottom right-hand side there, the bright red are states that are already live and implemented with ISO-compliant mobile documents, and the lighter color states are all states that are, you know, somewhere along that journey between regulation and piloting and things of that nature. But each of those boxes, each of those colors is an individual implementation of a mobile identity program, and they are all on the path now to be interoperable. So as you travel across state boundaries in the US, you'll be able to use your mobile ID no matter where you are. And we're very lucky this week to have sort of two of the leaders in that space and two of the people that really brought that service together for us in Mike McCaskill and Laffy Jordan, who will also be speaking tomorrow. So tomorrow's definitely a morning not to miss, and they'll talk a little bit about that. But what I really want to call attention to this ecosystem for is because as we were building our Virginia mobile ID program, we started out responding to a request for a proposal. We were fortunate enough to win the opportunity to do that development. And then we set out on the initial scope, which was allowing Virginia citizens to use their smartphone the same way they use a physical card today. But the perspective of that was going to all occur within the same jurisdiction, right? So we can stand up our own little ecosystem, have verifiers, have the relying parties, have the holders, get everybody on board. But how is this going to interoperate moving forward? That's where that mobile document ecosystem I just mentioned actually came into play once we were mid-development. But because we sort of have this adaptive model and we're ready to adjust and incorporate, you know, we took the lessons that were coming out of AMVA and the directions and implementation guidelines, really their governance framework for participating in this ecosystem, and we were able to move Virginia in line with that. So now that as Virginia goes live, they'll be able to interoperate with other states, but even more importantly, as that ecosystem grows bigger and bigger and grows critical mass, other relying parties that come on board, because we don't have to do a tight integration with them on a technical sense, will automatically start to gain those use cases. So I believe I saw another question come up about what are ID solution providers doing to, you know, have social media platforms and others begin to accept mobile ID. We've kind of intelligently put us in a position where we're going to kind of rise with the tide with that, because there's major players such as Google and Apple that are adopting this technology and building it into their platform wallets. And in large part, they're going out and doing a lot of the legwork to try to get these people on board, right? They're going to go out to the Ubers and the Airbnbs and whoever else it might be to move their services onto the mobile document that is going to work naturally with their wallet. And again, because we don't have this need for tight integration, as a verifier comes online, we're automatically going to be compatible with that because of the fact that we've built upon those standards. So it's a really powerful notion that, you know, you don't have to do all the legwork and find every verifying party yourself. Following these international standards, you'll get the benefit of others that are bringing in other verification elements into the network as well. So that's been really neat to see in the United States, and we're excited to watch that grow as well. I talked a lot about last year about, you know, our iterative UX and UI design process and everything behind the program. So if you want to hear more about that, please do submit questions. I'd be happy to chat about it. But moving on to try to make sure you guys get the most value out of this. I want to talk a little bit about this slide here. So we've heard standards. I've talked about standards a lot. They are very, very important. I do want to stress that they are still probably the easiest part of your job as a governor, right? If you're going to decide to build a system, you pick your standards and you have good reasons for that, and the standards are going to give you a lot of the technical functionality you need. So privacy and security mechanisms, check. The method of doing presentation and verification with ISO mobile documents, that's taken care of. The way that a verifier actually checks and validates that data, you get all of that from the standards work. That's been done. There's open source projects. That's not the hard part anymore. The technology exists. The hard part is how you build your program. All the other design choices that you need to make that are impactful and going to affect how people use the system. And this is going to be unique to every jurisdiction. There's no copy-paste model for this because everyone's circumstances are different. So the topics on the right-hand side are actually what we spent all our time really working with Virginia on iterating through, and we continue to iterate through them as things advance. So something like onboarding, for example. In Virginia, we scan a driver's license card, and that's kind of the route, the kickoff of our journey. You know, in another country that has a strong, national identification database, we might be using a national ID card instead, right? So you got to find the right pieces to the puzzle that are going to make everything click and make sense together. Again, another bunch of topics on there, life cycle changes, suspensions, revocations, how those things come in. Not something the standard is going to tell you how to react to. So lots of space for you to innovate and figure out exactly what your program wants to be. But again, as the role of governor, the biggest advice I can give you is engage with experts, engage with people who have done this before. I reached out to my peers when we were doing it. We had our state partners, our customer was reaching out to other states that have been through that journey, and that's really the way we accelerated this and got the program to where it is today. So with that, I do want to invite you to come see CBN at our booth. I'll be there. I have a demo of the Virginia Mobile ID if you want to see it. If you want to talk about any of the subjects that we saw before, I'm happy to do that. And I think I've scored a couple extra minutes for us for questions, so I'd be happy to field those as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for the wonderful presentation. As we've been discussing from yesterday, the digital identification, digital ID, is part of the digital ecosystem and should be used to support the digital transformation process in our countries. Can you share with us the example of use case of the mobile identity in Virginia vis-a-vis its use by other government agencies providing digital services in the state of Virginia?
Yeah, sure. So with the Virginia Mobile ID program, we directly worked with Virginia State Police, for example, and they're being equipped now with the ability to go and scan those licenses. I think in line with what I was talking about in my presentation, one of the great examples is the Transportation Security Administration in the United States, who manages, the security around air travel. They're running a pilot program now where they accept mobile IDs, and Virginia is now part of that program as well. So Virginia residents downloading the app can go to an airport and go through their security line, scanning the mobile app, and get right through to the point where they're going to board a plane, right? And again, the process of us getting accepted into that program wasn't sitting our developers down and coming up with APIs and deciding on the standards to integrate with. Because we've chosen this mobile credential model, TSA just decided, okay, we're going to support that model as well. All we had to do was provide them with our signing certificate, and then we were good to go. In the next update, they had that certificate as part of their verification software, and residents could show up and go through the airport right away.
Thank you. One of the questions that we do have on slide is also related to the experience of your implementation in Virginia. How can Virginia's success with mobile ID guide Africa in adopting this technology, and what step should Africa follow according to your experience?
Yeah, I think everyone's journey in Africa is going to be a little bit different, as I said, right? But I think one of the big lessons here is it's okay to start building, right? If you do it in a smart way, if you're taking the international standards and being compliant, our scope was very, very narrow, as a narrow sliver when we started out doing Virginia, and being able to join the mobile document ecosystem, being stood up by AMVA, being able to join the TSA pilot, these are all natural boons that sort of came across as we were doing the development, right? So we didn't put ourselves in a position where we couldn't participate or react to that. Making those smart design choices, bringing in the right expertise, you can get started. And I think there's a lot of that, not just in Africa, but in the world today. There's a lot of hesitancy to start building. The tools are there now, the standards are there, the groundwork is there. We just got to start, figuring out our individual ways forward, because they are, unfortunately, all going to be a little bit different.
What was your approach to user experience while developing your solution? Because as shared in your solution, the user is one of the key participants in the implementation of this solution.
Yeah, so when we started out with Virginia, it was a number of years ago, right? And a digital wallet was a new thing. There wasn't a lot of working examples that we could pull from. Some of the first people we brought into our solutions group developing these things were UX and UI design experts. And we set them to work, initially just doing research. That research came out of really the space of mobile banking and e-commerce, sort of. We didn't have digital wallets, identity wallets to go look at. So we looked at, where were those other examples where people had to put trust in a mobile application and overcome that initial hesitancy. And we drew from those experiences to come up with our original designs. And our UX and UI team is still, even though the software is out there now, they're still having weekly iterative design meetings with our customer to make sure that it's coming out to their true vision, and we're taking in best practices and lessons from the market. So it's a constantly evolving piece, but what we've done is we've very tightly integrated our UX and UI designers into our software development team. So that, every agile cycle we have a new sprint and a new release comes out, and that, has the latest, greatest in terms of what we've done for UI and UX.
Thank you. One element also that was highlighted in your presentation is the approach or methodology. You made reference to federated approach. Usually in many governments in Africa, this is not the approach followed. Usually you have a centralized database by government agencies, but in a mobile ID you have other actors like mobile operators, and the database usually are not harmonized and do not have interoperability framework. Can you share with us how we can use or learn from your experience in Virginia to make sure that we do have a federated model, and what will be the role of all the other new actors that are not of the traditional ID community?
Sorry, just to make sure I understand the question, you're asking about legacy databases and systems that are in place today, and perhaps federated models, and how you can leverage what I'm talking about? Yeah. So for example, in Virginia, when you want to go and sign up for a mobile identity, you download the app and you go through an onboarding process, and that's all checked against a source of truth, right? So if you're in a position with a legacy system, that's helpful to you, because you can use that as a source of truth to onboard people into your system. And the great part is you issue them the credential into your wallet. Your legacy system, if you still have integrated partners that are using it, that's all well and good. But now that they have a mobile credential that is standards compliant in their pocket, they can start interacting with verifiers as well. Even though that legacy system's still there, maybe still serves a purpose and running, it's actually a big boon to have some sort of source of truth in place already, because now we have a basis that we can do a remote enrollment directly into a mobile identity program.
Yes, another dimension also in your presentation, it's about the standard, and on the slide, the number of questions related to this topic. What are some of the international standards that you have leveraged in your solution?
Ooh. Well, I've mentioned the ISO 1800135 is kind of the core standard that tells us how we structure that credential when we store it on your phone. It tells you how you engage with a verifying party and exchange that information. When we talk about, entitling someone to a mobile ID, do we have enough confidence in giving them a mobile ID? There's some standards out of NIST. 863 is one, which is the digital identity guidelines that help you there. Our backend solution is all OSIA compliant, so the way that we actually retrieve the information to do the credential encoding and everything like that is according to the OSIA APIs. There's some OpenID stuff in there as well, so it's really kind of a combination of best practices that we pull together.
Thank you. Another topic that's more related to the financial aspect. Is the verifier relying party component free of charge in your case in Virginia?
Yes, Virginia residents can get the mobile ID free of charge.
Thank you very much. Another question that is from slide. Are you currently active in West Africa, and what are some of your successful projects in Africa?
I would love to be doing more digital work in Africa. Right now I would refer, really I think my favorite story is Canadian Banknote's presence in Togo, where we do their border system, their passport, national ID, and a bunch of their other physical documents, and the software solutions behind them. Again, we have examples of all that work at our booth, so I do encourage you to come by and hear from some of our folks that spend a lot of time in the region, and they can share some more of our success stories there.
Thank you very much for the time we've used, the 20 minutes that was available to our presentation. Thank you for sharing the experience and the availability of yourself and your company to support us in this journey of the mobile ID in Africa. Thank you very much. The next speaker, in fact, there are two that will be sharing the presentation. I would like to invite Mr. Devendre, GOPAUL, and also Sébastien GUÉRÉMY from Thales, and Mr. GOPAUL from Mauritius, and is our colleague as ambassador of ID Africa to join the stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning to all. First of all, I wish also to thank ID for Africa to give us the opportunity to share with this distinguished audience how Mauritius has shifted to its new generation ID system. The government of Mauritius has, in fact, in February 2024, launched its new generation ID system, commonly known as the Mauritius National Identity Card 3.0, comprising of a physical identity, which is the card, and the digital ID. The implementation has been by the consortium Thales and HMT Limited, HMT being a local company, to which a contract was awarded following tender procedures in accordance with our Public Procurement Act. The contract also includes operation assistance and maintenance over a period of 10 years. The implementation of this project is not a standalone one, but it is in line with the National Digital Strategy 2030 of the country. Hence, several IT systems to support the present project had already been put in place, namely a system for the issuance of digital certificate, an online system providing an online account for each citizen, an online appointment system, and an information highway platform for sharing of information among government agencies. We humbly think that we have been able to successfully implement the major part of the MNIC 3.0 project because we have taken into consideration the following key factors prior to going live, which I'm going to share with you. First, strengthening our legal framework through the establishment of a special unit for the management of the MNIC, ensuring the confidentiality of citizen data. It is also provided that the unit should be operated by staff having the required technical expertise, more particularly in the IT field, with particular emphasis on IT security. It is also provided in the law that independent regular IT security audit to be conducted to ensure that procedures are complied with. We have, for operational purposes, also proclaimed secondary legislation for the usage of the card, the usage of the mobile ID, and to put obligation on agencies using card readers, for example, banks and insurance companies. The second factor which has been at the basis of the success, either monitoring of the project, either close monitoring of the project through a steering committee giving policy orientation to another technical committee. The steering committee was chaired by the Minister of ICT himself. And then there was a technical committee to ensure that the policy decisions are converted into action, and also ensuring consolidation of the law to avoid possible litigation that we had previously in 2013 when we implemented the MNIC 2.0. Another important factor is the change management and engagement workshop with different stakeholders to first overcome resistance to change within the civil service itself, to bring trust to the new system, thereby encouraging citizens to adopt and accept the new system. The lesson learned through implementation of the system, which I'm going to share with you, which could be a suggestion to you as well, would suggest to you not to go live at one go if you're coming up with this new system. Start on a pilot basis. We went live, full-fledged, and with the initial teething technical issue that we had penalized the citizen. We are not replacing all the existing old cards. The replacement of the old card by the new one would be done in a phased manner, meaning that both cards should exist for some period of time. We would suggest that mass conversion should be avoided. This can be very costly and chaotic if you don't have the required human resource, you don't have the required financial means, and you don't have the logistic. We experienced this problem in 2013 when we were implementing the MNIC 2.0. Third lesson learned, there should be a long-term engagement with the supplier for operation assistance and maintenance. If you don't do that, if you don't have proper maintenance, if you don't have proper operation, the project may fail. Then, like we have done it, you should ensure the supplier has a local representative. We have it in the form of a local representative named Harel Malak Technology Limited. This will facilitate communication and urgent intervention. Before ending, let me give you a glimpse of our new ID card. This is how it is. It is a blend of tradition and modernity. It has contactless interface. It has advanced security features. There is fingerprint match on the card. This means that we don't need database to keep the fingerprint on a database, which we have been destroying with the old card. Then we can do pre-registration from home with appointment booking for new card registration, and we have installed kiosks at different sites for card management services. We are, in the few weeks to come, it is at test stage at the moment, we are going to come with the next generation digital ID wallet. This digital ID wallet will be an application. It's going to be a wallet on which, it's going to be a multi-document wallet on which you'll be having the Mauritian identity and on which you can also store other certificates. For example, marriage certificate and birth certificate. Presently, we are in discussion with the police department to see whether eventually we can include driving license on this. It's going to help for online authentication, digital signature, and it's going to be a system which will give you proof of age. Let me now invite my colleague, the representative from the supplier, to dwell on the technical part of the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. GOPAUL. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So let me share with you another perspective on the key success factors, more on the technical part, and on 3 design choices that were made by the government of Mauritius and that contributed to the success of this program. The first choice is interoperability through standardization. So first, why? Because it is a booster for adoption. Since it's not a technology, a single vendor technology, the ecosystem is not locked into this technology, and on the contrary, the standard enables to unlock the digital ID ecosystem. So for the citizen, it means that they can have their identity easily verified, easily consumed by external parties in the country and also, by the way, internationally, because it's an international standard. For relying parties, it means that they can very conveniently verify an identity. They can modernize their KYC procedure. It's compliant with most of the KYC regulation worldwide, and without any specific equipment. So this is really what I call a kind of a virtuous cycle, where the adoption of the citizen drives the adoption of the relying parties and vice versa. And how did we implement this interoperability? It's, well, the answer is on the screen, through this ISO standard, namely 18013.5. Thales was the first one to have its wallet certified back in 2021. And there are now several projects in the US, in Australia, and elsewhere worldwide. It will be, by regulation, the standard in Europe with the EIDAS2 regulation. So every member state will have an ISO wallet in the future. They don't have yet. And Mauritius is the first country in Africa to have such an ISO wallet. And it's really among the pioneers worldwide. The second design choice is on security and privacy. At Thales, we are committed to the responsible use of technologies. This is why we accompany the governments into a security and privacy by design approach. And in the case of this Mauritius next-gen ID system, it means first data encryption, so that the citizen data is always encrypted. Dynamic security, so that the wallet can tackle modern, sophisticated attacks. And for those, we leverage Thales' own cybersecurity technologies. Thales has invested a lot recently, including in acquisitions on cybersecurity. We are now making more than 2 billion euros of turnover per year on cybersecurity, which positions us among the top 5 worldwide. And of course, those are those tier 1 technologies that we use in our own project. Then data accuracy, because the wallet is connected, which means that for law enforcement, for healthcare professionals, or for anyone who wants to verify the citizen data, the data is up to date. And then it's the control of the citizen over their data. So physical control, of course, because the data is in the wallet, so in your smartphone, and in case it's lost or stolen, you can remotely revoke those digital credentials. But more importantly, it's also the logical control, which means that with this selective disclosure, you can share only the necessary information for each transaction that you need to do. Basically, if you need to prove your age to enter a bar, you don't need to disclose your name or worse, your address. The third choice, the third design choice that was made was, and Mr. GOPAUL explained that already, is that it's not a standalone project. We are leveraging both digital and physical world to provide a renewed citizen experience. So it comes with a new ID card that Mr. GOPAUL presented, and with a lot of new services, like online portals to get appointments, for instance, digital services with notifications that you can receive directly from the government on your wallet, with, of course, instant digital ID issuance, and a lot more. So overall, with these three choices, the government of Mauritius now has a really future-proof system that can evolve according to their needs and to support the 2030 digital strategic plan that Mr. GOPAUL mentioned. First, because the backend is modular, which means that we can really easily add some new services according to the lifetime of the project. Second, because the wallet from the start is designed to be multi-document. Mr. GOPAUL already explained that they have some plans to introduce new documents like the mobile driving license, healthcare card maybe, and maybe in the future the digital travel credential. And also, because it is leveraging digital and physical documents, we can think of new use cases. Like, for instance, if you have lost your physical card, you can directly renew or ask for a renewal on your digital one. Or if you lost your passport, you can easily create, if you lost your smartphone, you can easily create a new digital ID thanks to your physical ID. Those are use cases that can evolve in the future. And last but not least, since it is based on this ISO standard, the project will benefit very easily from any new evolution of this standardization. For instance, in the very near future, the way that this digital ID can be consumed and verified by web services will be standardized. It means that the reach of this digital ID ecosystem will be expanded very, very far. To conclude, I like to think that in this project, Thales has been more than a supplier to the government of Mauritius. We have a very long-lasting relationship, more than 10 years, that enabled to upgrade progressively this system, not scrapping all that has been done already in the past, including not by Thales, like MoPass, MoSign that you mentioned, but really upgrading, leveraging the new technologies to have this first-of-a-kind, end-to-end, physical, digital project that is a first-of-a-kind worldwide, including for us. So Thales is very proud to support the government of Mauritius in this project, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you for the presentation. The topic that you covered is an important element from the first part of the presentation, Your Excellency Permanent Secretary, is the reference to the Mauritius Digital Strategy 2030. I don't know if you can help us in understanding what are the governance mechanism established by the government of Mauritius to coordinate the implementation of a complex initiative like this?
That is, in fact, this strategy is a strategy which has been approved by government through the cabinet, which has set up a multi-stakeholders committee to look into the implementation of the strategy. Different sectors, health sector, business sector, citizenship sector. So we have a multi-stakeholders committee which has been set up to monitor progress and which reports regularly to cabinet on progress made.
Thank you very much. Another dimension that's part of this presentation, GUÉRÉMY, is the interoperability. Usually governments approve or adopt interoperability or e-government interoperability architectures where they define standards. Can you share with us what was the process of adopting the interoperability framework within the government, within Mauritius? And the question is this a national interoperability framework or it's a standard, international standard for interoperability that you adopted?
Well, as I mentioned, Thales invested quite early in this standard, in this ISO standard, which enabled us to be the first one to have our product certified in a real implementation in Florida. Florida is the largest state in the US with 17 million people. So once we had this, it proved that it was working, and it is also probably that what drove others to go into this, other meaning some other states or countries, but also some other industrial players.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the question from Slido. The first one, a lot of practitioners have security-related concern when it comes to biometric match on card. Has there been a successful large-scale use of this technology?
Well, I think all that relates to biometrics always raises some concerns. So then there are some pros and cons, central databases, decentralized storage on the card. Of course, each has their pros and cons. But what is important is to suit the needs of the different customers. In this case, Mr. GOPAUL mentioned that the idea not to have central database was very important for Mauritius. So this is what guided this use case. There are a lot of countries that have made such choices. In Europe in particular, there are not a lot of central biometric databases.
Permanent Secretary, one of the questions also from Slido is related to sovereignty-related aspect that sometimes we link to digital system. The government of France is one of the Thales major stakeholders, 25%. How do you make sure it does not impact your approach in other countries?
You know, we have a well-regulated procurement system.
Yes.
We did not choose Thales. It was a competitive tender procedure which was launched on specification that the technical people from our side has provided. There was evaluation in a very transparent and independent manner, and the best substantially responsive bidder got the contract, and that bidder was Thales. So there is no question of convenience or having any influence on other countries. It's just a very competitive process in accordance with our Public Procurement Act.
Can you please elaborate on how you proceed practically to convenience citizens to accept the privacy issue?
We have been making a lot of campaign and change management workshop with targeted audiences, with the banks, for example, and other stakeholders. As far as the citizens are concerned, we have certain organizations within government and outside through the NGOs which help us to convince citizens to accept the new system. And it appears that it is being successfully being accepted because many people, even those who are not entitled, come forward to change their card for the new card. So this is a sign of acceptance of people.
Thank you, and this is a question from our side in order to learn from our experience in Mozambique. It's the engagement of Thales in a framework for public-private partnership, or it's a solution provider that has been contracted by the government of Mauritius, but the entire process of the governance is led by the government of Mauritius.
The whole project was geared by government. It's not a public-private partnership. It was a government-geared project, and everything is being under the control of government.
Thank you very much. We have completed this session, and thank you for sharing with us the experience of implementation of this solution. Thank you. I would like to invite, thank you. I would like to invite Jeremy Springle from SITA at Borders, the global head of this unit. We have 15 minutes for the presentation, then we'll have 5 minutes for discussion after the presentation.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And as was said, I'm Jeremy Springle. I run the border management business of SITA. And my aim over the next 15 minutes is to give you a glimpse of the future, because the way we all travel is changing. Before I do that, I just want to very quickly introduce SITA to you, for those of you that are not aware of us. SITA is the IT provider to the global aviation and border management industries. We serve airlines, airports, and critically governments, because governments enable that international travel through having effective, secure, and in the future, seamless borders to enable you to manage the security of your borders and equally create national prosperity for your governments, your countries. SITA really is a global organization. We operate pretty much in every country around the world. We're present at over 1,000 airports around the world. We work with over 80 governments on their border management solutions. And we're also very proudly based and have many locations, over 40 office locations in Africa. Africa is a very important market to us. And as an example, here in South Africa, we've been supporting the South African government with their border solutions, and particularly around advanced passenger processing, for well over 10 years. They put our systems in readiness for the World Cup in 2010. So as I said, I'd like to give you a glimpse of the future. And to do that, what I'd like, if I may, is to ask you to think about your journey here to Cape Town. What was it like to apply for entry into the country? What was your experience like as you made your journey? And how did you feel when you reached the border and crossed into the country? And I'd also like you to imagine a world where you can travel from anywhere to everywhere without ever needing a physical travel document. One where you can literally step across the border without needing to queue at immigration. And one where every step in your journey is seamless. Now that vision of seamless travel is something that the industry has been talking about for many years, but it's now with us now. You know, it's available and can start being delivered today. And really that's being driven, this demand for seamless travel, is being really driven by a number of things. First of all, we're seeing ever-growing numbers of travelers. So here in Africa, we are going to see over the next 10 years, 10 to 12 years, a doubling of the number of people using air travel. So you need to consider in your countries what impact that's going to have at your airports and at your borders. So handling that huge additional volume of travelers coming into your country. Secondly, the travelers themselves are equally demanding this. We do a survey each year of passengers, and that survey shows that over 7 out of every 10 passengers is more than comfortable using a digital identity linked to their biometrics if it's going to help them with that seamless journey. Thirdly, the industry itself is really keen to adopt this technology. Airlines, airports want to reduce fraud, and they want to provide a differentiated service to their passengers. So again, when we survey airlines, over 75% of airlines are planning to adopt a digital identity solution by the end of next year. So this is happening now in the industry, and all countries, particularly in Africa, need to be ready to be able to support those digital identities. And finally, it's important for you as governments to really be able to manage those travelers coming into those countries. You need to be able to pre-clear travelers before they even start their journey. And that will help you manage that national security and improve national prosperity. Now, we've spoken, I think, quite a lot over the last 2 days around technologies. I'd like to share with you really the key technologies that we're looking at within the travel market and the travel sector. The first really critical technology is being driven by ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization. They're the international body that are responsible for defining the standards for your passports, your e-passports that we all use today. And they have developed the standard for what is called the digital travel credential, the digital version of your passport that you can be able to use and store within a wallet on your phone. And critically, those digital travel credentials are authenticated against the public key directory of ICAO in the same way your e-passport is today. So it's a trusted, recognized document that can be used by all states around the world. Now, in order to use that digital travel credential in your wallet, we need to be able to enable a privacy-preserving and a very secure way for the traveller to verify that credential as part of their journey. If you, again, think about your journey here to Cape Town, you touch many, many different stakeholders and different points of contact as you make your journey. And each of them needs to be able to verify you and your digital identity. And we're talking about operating globally. So I mentioned earlier, SITA is present over 1,000 airports around the world. How do we enable this digital identity to be usable, verifiable across the world? And the final technology that we're involved in, clearly, is biometrics. Now, biometrics are the way of us linking that digital identity with your physical identity. They enable us to provide that seamless journey. So, I'm going to take you through an example of a project that we are in the midst of at the moment. We're working with many governments, many airlines, and many airports around the introduction of the digital travel credential. One great example is one of the major airlines in Africa, Royal Air Maroc, and we're working with them to introduce a digital identity linked to a digital travel credential that can be used for travel around the world, and particularly across Africa. So to do that, I'm going to tell a bit of a story. Now, it's a fictitious story set in the future. And the main character in that story is Omar. Now, Omar lives in Rabat in Morocco, and he's a frequent traveller. And he's planning a trip to Cape Town. In fact, he's planning a trip to ID for Africa. And he's a little worried about his journey, because the last time he came to Cape Town, it wasn't a great experience for him. If you think about your journey here and those different steps you had to make around that journey experience. But he's heard now he can use a digital service. So let's see what that looks like. So first of all, Omar needs to apply for entry into the country. And he can do that using a mobile ETA. So we're really looking at adoption of electronic travel authorities to enable that free movement of people. And he does that, first of all, by creating a digital travel credential, which you've just seen being done. He then takes a selfie to verify, and himself is the holder of that document. He completes his ETA questionnaire, and very rapidly, at home, can receive his authority to enter into South Africa. So a really simple and easy to use way for that traveller into your country. Now, this is available today. That solution is currently in use in Australia and is the basis of the ETA solution into Australia itself. So Omar's now got his authority to come into South Africa. He's booked his flight, and now he's going to check in. So what does that look like? So again, he's able to do this from home using his mobile in the way he does today. But importantly, instead of having to key in his advanced passenger information, he can now submit his digital travel credential to the airline. The airline can then send that to the government of South Africa. And now South Africa have been using our advanced passenger processing solution for over 10 years now. And he can get a confirmation back from the government of South Africa that he can check in for his flight. And the government can also risk assess him to pre-clear him for his travel. So he's now at home. We've now pre-cleared him before he even started his journey. So we can now enable that seamless journey. Now, importantly, what he's also done at the point of check-in is that he's selected to share his biometrics and his digital identity with other stakeholders in that journey. So he's sharing it with the outbound airport, the government, and the destination airport and government. So again, let's look how Omar's experience changes. So again, he's now arriving at Rabat Airport in Morocco. He's using a self-service bag drop solution. He's purely recognized using his biometrics, so no need to share any physical travel documents. He can drop off his bag. He can go through security. He can go through border control. And he can board his flight purely using his face as his digital and seamless experience. So he's having a much more happier journey now. And he's on his way to Cape Town, and on arrival in Cape Town, he's able to again just step across the border because the government's already pre-cleared him. They already know he's coming, and we just need to prove his identity using biometrics. But Omar's journey doesn't stop at the border. Omar wants to enjoy Cape Town, enjoy the facilities that his hotel wants to offer. So that digital travel credential can now be used whilst he's in your country. So in this case, Omar is arrived at his hotel. He's staying in the West Inn, opposite us over here. And again, the hotel is offering him a self-service experience to check in for his hotel. He shares his digital travel credential, and in return, they've offered him a room key that will sit in his mobile wallet as well. And then he can use, again, that same digital experience through the hotel itself. And as you can see there, he's had a much more relaxing journey into Cape Town since the last time he traveled. A few really key points from me, and I think we've touched on this with a number of the speakers. First of all, clearly this needs to be a very secure solution. And we absolutely believe that Omar needs to be in control of his own information, his own data. So the information related to Omar, his digital travel credential, his personal information is held by him in his wallet of his mobile phone. So it's privacy preserving. But importantly, it also needs to enable selective disclosure, because what Omar wants to be able to do is use that same credential for multiple purposes. So when he's crossing the border, the government will want all of the information related to his passport, his digital travel credential. But if he's using that digital travel credential to maybe buy something at duty free, the retailer only needs to know he's over a certain age. They don't even need to know his date of birth. So selective disclosure is really important to enable this experience. And finally, it needs to be a trusted source of information. It needs to be government grade. It needs to be able to be trusted by governments. And it equally needs to be trusted by airlines, airports, hotels, retailers, his end-to-end journey in that way. And again, because his identity is anchored to his digital travel credential and authenticated by the ICAO Public Key Directory, we can enable that as a trusted document for use around the world. Now, I've just got a couple of last reflections, really, in terms of Africa itself, because we really believe that the introduction of digital travel and the use of digital travel credentials, it can enable Africa to unlock travel and tourism for the whole continent. You can balance your need to protect your borders from national security, because we can pre-clear travellers before they even arrive, and equally open up your borders to enable trade and tourism into your country, creating national prosperity. So it's absolutely key for your growth. Secondly, it's very secure, it's safe, and as we've just seen, it's very seamless. We're using a digital travel credential, but we're linking it with the passenger's biometrics to enable that seamless journey. Now, in many ways, Africa actually has an advantage compared with other parts of the world. Some of the legacy systems that many countries have in place to manage their borders, you can actually leapfrog. You can move to a fully open digital solution at your borders. Mobile technology is very at a very high use across Africa. And the solution requires very minimal infrastructure. We're no longer needing to go back and have your data held in central databases, in government offices. It's held by the traveller in their wallet. And finally, that digital credential used for travel can also be used for many other purposes. For that traveller to enjoy your country and to get the benefit from those tourists. So hopefully that's given you a really good, interesting understanding of the future. I am personally really excited around what this is going to provide in terms of our travel experience in the future. And if you've got any questions, then please put them on Slido, and I'm sure we're going to have that discussion, or come and visit us at our booth in the exhibition area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy, for the excellent presentation and sharing the technological solution that your company is proposing. The solution that you are sharing entails interoperability between different governments and ID system. Can you share with us what is the interoperability framework that you're adopting so that the African government can follow those procedures and use the solution that you're proposing?
Yeah, so as explained, the core credential we're using is the digital travel credential defined by ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization. So, and because of that, it's trusted by every government in the world and can be authenticated against the ICAO Public Key Directory. And then what we're using is verifiable credential technology, which is an open standard, uses based on open source data or open source software to enable us to then share and use that data and verify that credential as we make the journey.
Thank you. One of the concerns of many governments, including of Mozambique, the country that I'm representing here, it's privacy of the citizen. We know that around the world we do have the Budapest Convention and the Malabo Convention when it comes to protection of data, but we don't have a global convention for data privacy. What legal instrument internationally that are using to guide the process of privacy and also security of the citizens?
Yeah, so absolutely. So data privacy is absolutely critical to the use of these sort of solutions. SITA operates, as I said, in pretty much every country around the world. So we need to know the data privacy requirements from each of those countries. And we need to deliver solutions that enable your citizens to safely visit those countries and understand what those data privacy standards are in those sort of areas. So the solution needs to be very flexible and be open. We touched a little bit with my colleague from Canadian Banknote Company around the governance model, and the governance of the verifiable credential ecosystem is going to be really key to really make sure we're managing that data privacy.
Yes, and another dimension also that's related to data because it's of concern, it's the concept of data sovereignty. What is the technological architecture that you're adopting that will also give back to the countries this dimension of data sovereignty when it comes to their respective citizens?
Yeah.
My question is technically is to understand if this is an interoperable system or it's an integrated system that the data of the citizen are being stored in another country or another jurisdiction.
So again, the core solution really puts the traveller in control of their own data. So the core data, the core information about him, his digital travel credential is stored in his wallet, so he's managing his own sovereign data. Obviously, the anchor of that credential is the digital passport. It is the digital travel credential. So now that will mean that some governments will hold that information like they do hold your e-passport information today or your other passport information today as well. So, but the key here is to make sure the passenger is control of their own data and their own sovereignty.
Yes, one of the issues that we didn't touch in this conversation this morning on the solution is cybersecurity. We know there's no, and one of the topics that you shared is security and secure solution. But we know that there's no 100% security. All the systems have some level of security. My question is, how is your organization ready to share the incident response when it happened with the relevant authority in the country where the citizen is coming from or is going to when he is traveling? We know that there are many national cybersecurity incident response teams. Do you have mechanisms to share and also support these countries to address those kind of challenges?
Yeah, so obviously cybersecurity is absolutely critical to this. Now, to some extent, we're using now verifiable credential technology, which, as I said, means that the traveler is holding their own data in their own wallet, in a secure, encrypted wallet. And we're not in a position where every one of those stakeholders is holding your personal information in some central database, which clearly increases the risk of a security point of view. So inherently, the solution does enable that. And the, I think from a SITA point of view, just to conclude, we are, as I said, operating across this industry for over 75 years now. And a key part of what we do is around cybersecurity and managing the data of travelers around the world. We really orchestrate the movement of every traveler journey touches our system. So we take cybersecurity incredibly seriously. Yes.
It was really impressive. Yes, we have to stop. But there are many questions from Slido. Then we have to stop. Thank you very much. And,
yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. We have the last speaker. That's Mr. Xin Zheng from is the CEO of EMPTECH. 15 minutes for the presentation, and then we'll have 5 minutes for.
So good morning, distinguished guest. So I'm the last speaker in the morning. So thank you very much for staying in here and listen to my presentation. So my presentation is also about digital identity in our daily life. So I want to share a personal story about myself, how impact digitalization into my life. About 2 months ago, I have a daughter at 8 years old. So she is asking a 5 yuan banknote from me because her teacher wants her experience through buying a candy and having the exchange. However, the funny thing is I don't have cash in my house. And actually, it's the first time she is holding a cash at 8 years old girl. So this is the digital life we are having now. And this is how the digital life changing our whole life. So actually, I was thinking maybe 10 years or 20 years after, my daughter will not understanding why we are still discussing this topic. But I think she will appreciate that we are here in this room trying as much as possible to making the nation or our future better. Okay, so my presentation is more a little bit at front line relating to the project references that we have done and also the challenge and the experience we have. So firstly, it's about the registration and also the limitation about the network infrastructure in Africa. So how are we going to increasing the accessibility with advanced registration? All about how we collecting the good quality and enough data to ensure the platform success. So firstly is the enhancing convenience and efficiency through flexible approaches. So we approach flexible multi-modals to collecting all the data from a city, from village, far away people around the nation. So we have, we can also see so many different cases in the showroom. And also we are proposing a mobile solution that which we are able to do the registration. Now more and more countries, even in our country in China, we are using mobile phone as a device to capturing our ID photo. The ID photo using mobile phone is becoming reality because of the hardware improvement, also the software improvement. Now we can use it as a ID photo for now. And also because mobile phone doesn't match in the biometrics, we cannot use it as a dedicated terminal. So for the first time application, still goes to the professional devices. But for the second application of a person, you can use the mobile phone for online register and also taking an ID photo with a phone. So for ensure the good quality of photo, needs to be build a photo quality management system as a platform, so that there's several challenges. For example, the first one, the photo taking process in each nation, each area will be different. And also, the secondly is the environment. We will not be able to control the place that how the people is going to enroll into. For example, in the city, we have an enrollment center. In the village, we may bring a case, or we may use a mobile phone at home, in the bedroom, or in the laundry room. So, and also third is especially using a mobile phone. For different age people, using different phone are different. Some people may have less education, not familiar with phones, but still, they can use the phone. We can have the software to guide the person how to take a proper selfie as an ID photo, and ensure it's according to the standard of the nation. So this is for mobile phone. We still think to have a better quality photo so that we can ensure the more safety and also the extension of different applications in the future. There's a case in Africa we have done with mobile enrollment. So this is 2023 general election in Nigeria. So we have done several rounds providing different smart terminals for Nigeria election with our customer and our partner. So on 2023, there are totally polling units more than 170,000. For this kind of a large scale enrollment, which is something I think is really a powerful ability for African, because normally for this kind of nation enrollment, for some of the countries may take like 10 years. But for some of the African countries, with 1 year, they can capture every corner people, all the collection will be done in few months. So we were helping our customer to deliver all these devices and necessary elements only for 3 to 4 months to be implemented into the country. So this is also another way of doing in Africa. So we have to do the fast delivery and ensure the best quality. So there's also some of the intelligent solutions we want to introduce in more practically way. So this is a passport, as some other speakers also introduced. So this is a passport that we still maintain a very good quality of photo. There's still technology, and there's still a space that we need to improve our physical identity, while we are also integrating more digital solution into our physical documents, so that this physical document can be better connected to our digital world. So this is a smart code that we are introducing. But this smart code is a little bit different from, some unique is the portrait and the biometric features already embedded into the smart code. So right now we are a lot of discussion about how we're going to facing the challenge between the data transmission or data combination between bureau to bureau or ministry to ministry. So smart code actually is a chip form code, so it's also a symbol of identity. So just think, We don't need to show our ID, but we have to have a symbol, represent ourselves. So code is one of the solutions. We don't have to connect every bureau's data together, but we can use a symbol to link every bureau as one symbol. So there's a multi-functions authentication, can be online verified or offline verified, and also all the data which is encrypted into this code. And there's a high capacity, is up to 1,000 bytes. And there is key features that we can use. We can print it into card or passport, documents, or we can use as a phone or dedicate professional terminal. And also we want to introduce some of the cases in China, how the digitalization is impacting our daily life. So this is the newly diploma passport of China. We already implemented the smart code inside on the page. So that's on some of the cases, on some of the digitalized applications, we can use this smart code as one of the identity elements. And also we have, just now SITA speaker already mentioned of a digital travel ID. Right now we are using a simple solution that we are using for more than 260 airports right now in China. We do not need to show our ID as an identity approval, just to show the smart code and with facial biometric recognition, then we can prove this is the person. What is the, so there are some other things that we need to improve. For example, in the future, we can combine the ticket, our airline ticket, and also inside of the code. So there's an ID bureau, there's an airline bureau. So all we need to connect is how we link better the ecosystem so that we can improve our daily life. And this is what we have done with, we are coming from a city called Shenzhen. So we have created a platform which is called One ID for All, so that we can use this code for payment, for transportation, for bus, for taxi, for metro. And also we can use this code as your government rental house payment. So all these applications that we can link together to different government services application. It's no matter about the data security or connection. It's not just about one symbol. And the back-end data is protected by its own bureau and own ministry. And this is also another reference that we have done is the digital health ID, that we use this smart code as the vaccination for babies. Because right now, for vaccination of babies, they need to register also a document. And that document records all the health history of from baby to adult. So this is also becoming very, very simple and easy solution, better than what we have done with the documents before. So what we think right now is the physical document and also the digital world is a good combination together to improve our daily life. So about our company, EMPTECH, we are a China-based company. We position ourselves as a trusted identity product and solution provider. We founded in 1995, a public company in China, and we have around 1,000 employees. R&D accounts for around 40%. So we have delivered with our partner or integrator customers around more than 2,000 personalization machines, more than 20K kiosks, and also terminals, and also documents through our system. Okay, so this is the finished part of my presentation. Just one more thing I want to remind distinguished guests. We have a lucky draw at our booth. So you are more than welcome to join us. Every day we have a lucky draw. So there's some reward for you ready. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Zen, for the presentation and also for sharing the technological solution. During your presentation, you have shared with us the application, one of the African countries, Nigeria. Can you share if the database that you were able to build is also used for other digital services within Nigeria, or it was only for the election process? Yes, sorry.
Hello. Oh. So the program we are doing since 2012 until today, we are normally still involved into election, but we can see the progress. For example, I'm not the right person to speak for Nigeria election INTIC, but what we can see the progress from them is from the very beginning, it was the voter card. So one vote, one person. Also for the next round, the middle round, the last round was the digitalization between polling unit to centralize. And the last round, it was all purely digital. And also the enrollment is digital, the electing is digital. It's only, but still there's some policy to cross. But however, we can see the progress is very fast.
Thank you. We'll take one question from Slido. How do you verify identity of the citizen when they have lost their ID at the airport?
Oh, yes, that's why we say, thank you very much for the question. That's why we say the physical ID and digital supposed to be a combination. And we can select, because right now we are facing the future, but we are living at the present. We are living at the present with the documents. So we are still holding physical documents, and we can also use the digital solutions. And also what we think is the challenge is not coming from the physical world. The most of the challenge is coming from the future. Will be something more digitalized. That challenge will come as well.
Thank you very much for the benefit of time. We'll have to interrupt our session here, and I would like to thank all the speakers and the discussion that we had during this session, and all the participants for keeping the dynamic of this session. We do have lunch now with the permission of the organization. I would like to hand back the control of the conference to the organization team. Please.